Hey kids, Mr. Glenn here. Very quickly for this one, we are going to have a look at just magic wanding and looking at the difference between lasso and magic wand when I've got a frog. So I'm going to use my frog for an extra animal inside my composition, and I'm going to put them together just in a very simple kind of color background with a different particular style. So I've got my frog here, and what I'm going to do is download the frog. I got it from my second lesson when I was doing my media work before. So in the previous lessons, all my animals are here. I've even got a toucan if I want to do that, and I've got a leopard or a jaguar, or in American jaguar, as they say. And so what I'm going to do is just have a look at my artwork. So I've got my artwork open from before, so I've saved it and I've reopened it, and I've got my background with my spider. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to drag in my frog, which I've got here, my tree frog, in my paint.net folder. So I've made a folder on my computer and I've collected all my assets, and do what I've done before and drag it into my artwork as a new layer. So I'm going to go and add this layer here. There's my tree frog. So what I need to do is, it says tree frog background and I don't really want that. So I'm going to go and double click it like I've done before and get rid of the word background. Make sure that my zoomer isn't jumping around. Tree frog, done. And then I'm going to hit OK like that. And what I want to do is deselect this, edit, deselect. And then I need to go and work out what is the best tool now to take this frog out of this layer and away from the plants that it's on, the banana leaves it looks like, and just leave the frog there. So that what I'm going to do is put the frog facing the tarantula. Okay, so do you think it's the magic wand, or do you think it's the lasso? Because the colors are very similar. The frog is green itself with bright red eyes and blue legs, but also the leaf that it's on is also green. So we can have a look now to see what's going to work. Okay, so I've got my tolerance reasonable here. And you can see that it's picking up very little of this area. So this darker green here is okay, but the colors here are very sort of close, aren't they? So let's go and see what it can do and see how much it can pick up. And immediately you can see it starting to jump into the frog, which this is going to make this cutting out quite difficult with the magic wand. Because if you look here, this bit here, let's go and zoom in for this. This bit here is being left out. If we turn the tolerance up so that it's going to pick up this color, it's going to jump into the frog. So obviously we need to think about the tools that we are using and use the lasso. So I'm going to pause this because we've done this already. I'm going to pause this, and when in a second, it's going to turn to a cutout frog. I'm going to use the lasso tool and use my mouse, and then in a split second, the frog will still be there. Okay, so here's my selection of the frog. A little mistake at the top, which is okay, I suppose. And I'm going to go and delete this and hit delete, and just go back and get that and delete it. Uh-oh, I've deleted the frog. Now, what I suspect has happened is that the computer has said, you want this bit here. Now, we don't need to worry about this because we've got our unlimited undos. And in emails to me, asking me about the selection and how do I get everything else to be deleted, there are about 5 or 6 people who emailed me and said, I can't seem to be able to take the other things away, which is fine. We don't need to worry about this. If we go to edit, we can do a thing called invert selection here, which is what I use all the time in Photoshop. So when I'm in Photoshop, I'll invert it all the time. And what I can do is I can go and invert the selection and take all this away, because in the previous sessions we copied. So we can copy this by all means. Let's go and see what happens when we copy this. So we copy it, and then we can go to new layer and paste it in, and our new layer is there like that. But we can do things a lot faster. We can invert the selection, and we can go to edit, invert selection, and it collects everything else except the frog. And we can hit delete, and we can keep everything in there. So the frog is still there. We've not had to copy and make a new layer, although we can do to keep things. And we did an understanding, a piece of learning where we said we weren't going to destroy things. We were just going to keep our layer. But for this project, we don't need to keep the leaves. We don't want to keep the leaves or anything. So we can destroy this, except for the frog. So we can be destructive for this picture. So you can do whatever you feel is good for you. You can invert the selection and delete it, or you can copy it, make a new layer, and paste it into that other layer by keeping your objects in your other layers. You will have a lot of layers, but you don't need to worry about that. In here, what you can do is just invert the selection and delete the rest. So if I turn my spider off now, you can see that I've got some little mistakes here that will just need tidying around. You can see how nice this is to be able to just pick up the object that you've selected and just keep it. So I'm going to go and get my eraser, and I'm just going to go and erase these bits and pieces with my mouse, doing a bit of tidying up on its toes. And I know that on the back of its leg here, I missed a piece, like so. Done. So now my frog needs to be shrunk. So I can go and grab my selection like this, hit my blue select button, and do what we did before with our parrots. You remember it with our parrots. And now this has gone off the screen, but you don't need to worry too much because it's still there. It doesn't disappear. And remember, we want to keep that aspect ratio. We talked about this because we don't have frogs like this, and we don't have frogs like that either. So we try and keep the aspect ratio. And I'm going to go and just split this onto half, like that. I'm just going to go and put my frog that side, because my spider is covering the screen completely on the other layer. So let's go and turn the other layer on. Whoops, my layers have disappeared. Let's go and make sure that they're back up there with my button. So I can turn this on and off. There's my layers on and off like that. And what I want to do is go into my spider layer. At the moment, I'm in my tree frog layer because it's blue. Go to my spider layer and get my selection tool. So make sure your selection tool's over here. Go and select your spider. And now you can do the same to your frog by hitting the blue move tool, dragging this across, keeping the aspect ratio. Let's turn this up. Let's turn this around a little bit, so its legs look like it's about to defend itself against the tree frog, who, to be honest, looking at the tree frog's face doesn't look that bothered by the spider at all. So I need to deselect this, edit, deselect, take my marching ants away. Let's go to my tree frog and move this over a little bit. There we go. Done. Let's go and deselect this. All right. That's looking nice. You just need some text, and we have something for our projects in other lessons. So this bit is for fun. So you can have a go yourselves and see how well you get and how close you can get to this bit using a funky color for its background. And let's see what you make. I'll be really, really interested to see what is sent to me. As always, Year 5, good luck.